tweet the backlash that she was getting. As far as
I
I remember,
disagree with
Olay
your
was
characterization of the panel. I disagree
Really?
with your characterization of it.
Well, I remember.
Now,
because
also,
she said
did
she
they
didn't
invite
know
her
in
to the panel?
Then yes, I guess technically by that framework, Nazis would be woke, but that sounds kind of like incoherent. So, like,
Again, I
wasn't
wasn't going to use it for the right. I was going to use it for the left because that's commonly where it's used. No one uses it for the right.
Today we're going to be talking about Ana Kasparian and TYT for the first topic, and then we'll talk about wokeism for the second topic. There's going to be, each one's going to be about 2 hours long. First, we'll let everybody go around and introduce themselves, and then we'll go over the rules real quick. So, Vadim, if you'll start us off, sir.
Hey, what's up, guys? I am HeyItsVadim, and I've come here to spread the woke mind virus. It's resistance is futile. Anyhow, I'm among other things, I am a video essayist on YouTube, although I've been missing in action for like a pretty long time due to stuff, and I'm coming back pretty soon. Excited about that. And other than that, I don't really know what to say. I would shout out like my Twitch and stuff like that, which but the funny thing is that I thought I was going to have all that straight. I actually at this moment do not have one, so I'm just kind of like chilling here tonight. You guys can
wait, Vadim, I think you're muted.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
muted.
muted?
I think Tom's stream is muted.
Is my okay, you guys are fine. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, wait. So I don't get it. Do I start over or
no? You're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay, so that's it, guys. I don't really know what else to say about myself. Thanks for having me. It's
awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes, it is recorded separately, so it's all good. I got it all up.
Cool.
Thank you. Zonia.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I am Zonia. I am here to destroy wokeism and destroy humanity while I'm at it. Zonia TV on YouTube, Zonia Dead on Twitch, just plain old Zonia on Kick. And yeah, I don't know. Here to have some fun, I guess.
Sprouticus.
Yeah, I am the Sprouticus. I am Twitch's favorite wild card. Was a conservative. Some people say I'm not a conservative. Some people say I am conservative. Some people say I'm a liberal. Some people say I'm not. So it's really interesting where my takes lay. My takes lay where I decide they lay, and I'm just gonna be genuine. Looking forward to the conversation, and I think it's gonna be a good one.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Eli Monty. Or is it not Eli Monty? Do you go by Eli or?
Yeah, sure. Not Eli Monty. Eli, I don't really care. Hi, I am that. Yeah, I'm here because I was invited. I'm here because I was invited. And seems like it's going to be a pretty wild discussion, so yes.
Sweet. Appreciate it. And then Straighterade.
Hey guys, my name is Straighterade, aka Aaron, known grifter, and I'm here to also spread the woke virus. So I think Vadim and I might be teaming up tonight to do that. So I'm really excited to get into it.
Based. Yes. Yeah, so initially we had, I guess, 3 people. It was going to be a pretty even 3 versus 3. Unfortunately, Brianna Wu was unable to make it, but we'll get her on for another one another time. All right. So the rules for Shootout, if you've never seen it before, the way it works is everybody starts off the entire panel with 1 pass for the whole thing, not per episode. Sorry, Sprouticus. We did steal it from him. We'll go ahead and tell everybody. We did steal the idea from him. Everybody gets 1, but when you use yours, you take the other person's. So you get 3 minutes with that person. Everybody else is muted, and just you and that other person are the 2 who will be able to talk for 3 minutes straight. So you use it, and then it's gone for the rest of the show. This makes it so that if you're having trouble getting in, or if you are having trouble having like a back and forth with one person and other people keep interrupting and kind of derailing things, this makes it so that you're able to have a quick one-on-one. But if everybody used 3 minutes, that would be a long time spent on shootouts. So we have those shootouts where All you have to do is just yell the word shootout, and we will, a big infograph will pop up and say it's shootout time or something stupid like that. And then we'll mute everybody, and just whoever it is that you pick, it'll just be the two of you who are unmuted.
So I'm sorry. I just want to make sure. So we can challenge one person per round or per topic.
Like a whole challenge you to a duel thing. That's cool.
It's for the whole panel you get one. So not per topic. It is just for the whole thing.
It's typically called the cage match. I think I had that. I think I had that copyrighted though.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, I'll just wing it. Cool.
All right, and then any other questions from anybody? All right, cool. We'll jump into the first topic. So the very first question is, do you believe Ana Kasparian and Shank's sudden change in position, and have they handled it well? Well, for each topic, we'll give everybody an opening and a closing. Try to keep it below 1 minute. For this one, we will start with Zonia.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a sudden change. I think this is something they've probably been incubating little by little over time. Their views and positions have been sort of slightly evolving. They've had some doubts or questions that have moved them in a particular direction, but they were still kind of keeping that to themselves. And then as they started to let some of that out and receive some resistance and pushback, they started to kind of go full bore and just kind of bring those politics, those changes to their politics to the fore. So I think that's what's been going on with them. I don't think it's like a sudden thing. I don't think it's a grift, because it doesn't make a lot of sense as a grift for them. So that's what I think is going on.
Awesome. Sprouticus.
Yeah, I think that this is I think this is exactly kind of what happened with me. Is you slowly start talking to people, you slowly start moving your position. People don't quite realize it at first. It typically takes one big thing that people will catch on to, and they'll latch onto that, and they'll be like, oh, he's shifting, and then all of a sudden people get a lot more critical of what you say and critical of everything that you're doing, et cetera, and so on. I think it's hard to take. I think it's hard to kind of be able to realize that the people that you thought were your friends are no longer your friends. The people that you thought didn't like you or whatever, all of a sudden they're there supporting you. So it's a very weird position to be in. I'm not necessarily going to fault anybody in that position for how they react to it. It's a very weird position to be in, and I can't say I fault them for their reaction.
All right. Hey, it's Vadim.
Okay, so I just want to throw out there that I've been a huge TYT fan over the course of my life. I think that, for instance, they don't get enough credit for Bernie Sanders. They really put him to the forefront in 2016. There's a lot of great things that they've done, and I've been just a huge defender of them over the years. In spite of the fact that I thought that they did some weird shit here and there. But that being said, I guess I just want to focus in the opening on Anna's recent kind of turfy rhetoric, and it absolutely is turfy. I can kind of go into that later, but I'll just say that just the stuff that she said, it really is very I don't know. It's aside from being turfy, it's very antithetical to the values that I have always enjoyed from TYT. And then on top of that, and I can get into this later, it also directly contradicts some specific things that she said about trans people in the past. So yeah, I guess that's it for me right now.
All right. Straighterade, 1 minute, please.
Mm-hmm.
Straighterade.
Oh, you said 1 minute, please.
Sorry, no, 1 minute. You have 1 minute for opening statements.
Oh, sorry. I thought
I thought she was literally just waiting out the minute. I'm just gonna wait the minute out.
Sorry. Okay, I do.
Filibuster, well done.
Agree. Yeah, true. I do agree with some other panelists already that I don't think that anybody just has a radical shift overnight in their politics. I think typically, slowly that accumulates, and then something finally tips your Bayesian, and then you have changed positions entirely. I don't actually think that Anna and Cenk have really moved substantially from the politics that are kind of their bread and butter policies that they've always advocated for, progressive politics, moving money out of politics and stuff like that. I think the majority of the backlash or kind of criticism and like where they've moved has had to do less with any like shift in not just, you know, shift in opinion, but like their reaction to that shift and their kind of like avowed hostility to like quote unquote working with leftists and whatnot. So I don't think this is like an overnight thing. I think people, you know, saw it coming here and there, myself included.
All right, and then not Eli Monty.
Yeah, so I don't know how my approach is gonna come off, but I've been a fan of Ana Kasparian, and I was a fan somewhat of TYT. There are some people that are on TYT that I have connections with and whatnot. However, I cannot deny what is right in front of me with the latest rhetoric that Ana Kasparian has been using, and then Chank backing her as well. Part of me wonders if this is like a sudden shift, or like how what some other people were saying, how they've kind of noticed it over time and what have you. So some of you who are like actual advocate watchers, actual like, you know, watchers of TYT can probably speak about this more than I can. I feel like based off of what I have seen, this is someone with Ana Kasparian, at least, this is someone who has been corrected and does not like the fact that they have been corrected. I feel like this is someone who has gotten their head so gassed up and is so like essentially full of themselves right now, to the point where she has lost sight of the movement. She has lost sight of like, you know, what her like goals are, and the goals of like TYT, and you know what it means to be like a progressive and an advocate for marginalized groups and communities and whatnot. And it's kind of dipping into, in my opinion at least, white savior territory, where essentially she feels as though she has done so much. And like I said, she's been gassed up by her audience and whatnot. And now she feels as though no one can correct her or tell her that she is wrong, basically, is what I see. And we see this with quite a few people who become prominent. But yeah, that's my take on it.
All right, thank you. So we'll go into the open discussion. When I try to moderate, I will be fairly liberal with interruptions and getting loud, but if I do talk, please everybody stop talking so that I can get in and control the conversation. Outside of that, I will normally kick it over to somebody who seems to have the most dissenting opinion on the panel to start each topic off, and so we'll start with Zonia to go ahead and kick us off here.
Yeah, so it doesn't make any sense to me that it would be like a spontaneous thing for them. Like that, the only way to really justify that would be to say that there's like a grift going on. Like they're trying, like they find a way to make money off of a sudden shift in politics. So that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And they only stand to really lose from this. I think they're going to lose a lot of audience already. They've lost a lot of audience. They're already losing some people who are part of their team and such. So it's going to be a hit for them. And if it was a grift, it would take time for them to recover from that hit that they're going to take and sort of rebuild an audience that's better fits that political direction that they're going in. And who they would be grifting to doesn't make a lot of sense. If they're trying to go like the centrist route, I think like Timcast has like that pretty locked down, and other sources have that kind of locked down. I don't see them being very successful there, and they're definitely not going to win over the right because they're just too soft on certain issues, where right-wingers tend to be a lot more hard line on social issues. So I don't see that as being the case. As for her being like turfy, I don't see the turfy part. Well, what I will agree with Eli on is that I see her ego getting in the way. And so when people have a disagreement with something that she's doing, for instance, with like the thing about birthing persons, her reaction is like an overreaction. It's going over the top, and she's drawing way too much attention to it and getting her back up about it and everything. And that just looks like ego getting in the way, instead of stopping and going, well, either I don't need to fight this battle, or maybe I should hear the people out. So I'll agree with Eli on that I think it's like an ego thing going on there. Whether it's like a white savior ego thing, I don't know, but it seems just more like, you know, she's reacting poorly to the feedback and taking it way too personally, and like doubling and tripling down in ways that she really doesn't have to, and it looks a little odd. But overall, I would say that I don't see like turfy behavior in her. I see her as still being very much supportive of trans people, but she seems to be a little bit more hesitant about, for instance,
We gotta let
puberty
somebody
blockers.
respond at some point.
But yeah, I
Well-
just wanted to kind of cover all that base. But
Sorry.
go ahead.
Sure. Can I respond just because I was the one who made the point about turfiness? Yeah, I will concede that she probably still, no, definitely still, at least in her rhetoric, is advocating for trans people more than, say, most people on the internet who have disparaging things to say about trans people. But that being said, I mean, I'll just give some examples. Recently on a podcast, and I think also on Twitter, she was making a big deal about supposedly a trans group was in England was like offended by the use of the word vagina, and they wanted doctors to use the word bonus holes, which by the way is a fucking great term. That's hilarious. But
Vagina's
it's like,
the bonus hole?
Anna's a very smart girl. I've watched her for a long time, and what she's doing there with the bonus hole thing, she also actually, the first thing that she said that was kind of pounced on by people who recognized that it was just sounded transphobic was her talking about taking an issue with the term birthing people being used, which I can explain why that's a non-issue in a moment if anyone needs me to. But the what she's doing in all these things, and lots of other examples that I'm not thinking of right now, is she's hyper fixating on insignificant non-issues, and really, like, they're manufactured controversies most of the time, and it just lends credibility to this caricature of the trans community, and like the false claim that trans people and their allies are just super unreasonable. And I guess I just want to end by reading this quote, because as I said, she is with this stuff, she is kind of going against things that she has said in the past. And as a matter of fact, I will say real quick that in general, I was about to say that she, she's very smart, and I think that she knows these patterns in the way that the right wing use like just insincere points. She knows that, like, that's a strategy. So I guess what I'm just saying is that, like, when she brings up things like bonus holes, it's really difficult to believe that she really thinks that that's a big deal, and doesn't know kind of that that's not a just that's really a non-issue. And so anyhow, this quote is something that she said before this whole kind of a little bit of a turn that she's had. She said this was in response to Senator Josh Hawley, and she was explaining why non-binary and trans individuals have the capacity to she was explaining that, sorry, non-binary and trans individuals have the capacity to get pregnant. And this is basically like explaining why inclusive language is important. And she said, that's why language is inclusive, to include those people. It's not a big deal, but they make it a big deal. They manufacture it into a big deal, because that's all Republicans are these days. That's all they do. Endless bad faith arguments meant to fearmonger towards other Americans, typically powerless Americans. And so right there, she is explaining exactly why we should use inclusive language, which is what she had an issue with the birthing person thing. So I just think I don't really know what to make of it. Like, I guess at the end of the day, I don't really think it's that interesting to talk about whether it's a grift or not, because at the end of the day, it's kind of has the same effect on the world. But it's things like that that do make me think, like, I don't know, is she like trying to pander to a specific group? And I don't know. I'm not saying that that's the case. It's just, it seems like she is smart enough to recognize these things, and it's a little perplexing to me.
I think it's important for us to determine whether or not it's a grift, just because if she's making these points because of a monetary reason or incentive, or if she's making them out of like a genuine change of heart that is going to change how people should probably approach disagreements with her and anybody at TYT. Because if they're paid to misunderstand, or like if they're paid to hold certain positions and you're going to be talking to like a brick wall, I don't actually think that's the case with Ana. But, you know, she's, to my knowledge, not addressed that she, you know, that was a very like minor change in position or whatever. Like the whole like, don't call me a birthing person or whatever. It's like, fine, we can all call like Ana Kasparian a woman, but like, one, she's never said who called her like a birthing person, or like what was the like thing that like led to her tweeting this. So, you know, if you called Ana Kasparian a birthing person, don't do that. Okay, just call her a woman. Fine.
And that's where. Oh, sorry.
Well, no, continue.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and that's where it was for me too. Was like, okay, you could just say, "Hey, I don't want to be called a birthing person," but she had to make it like this huge deal and make a mountain out of something. Like not even make a mountain out of something. Pull a mountain out of her ass, because like everybody's sitting here like, "Yo, what do you on about? Like, why are you doing this? Like, why is this the way you are talking about this subject?" Like, she could have just said, I personally, for her boundary or whatever, I do not want to be called a birthing person. And you know what? Everybody would have been like, cool, fine. Like, Ana, we know now that when addressing Ana or when talking to Ana, don't refer to her as a birthing person. And everybody would have just went on about their day. But she had to like make this huge thing out about it. And we're like, calm down.
So I don't remember.
Go ahead.
I don't remember like all the specifics. It's been a while since I covered this, but from what I recall, Ana was doing a segment on TYT, and she said she was talking about something going on with the Roe v. Wade stuff, and she said, if a woman needs an abortion, and what happened was after that, a bunch of people were critiquing her over that. There were a lot of people doing segments on her and everything and saying, I can't believe that she would say that. And then she reacted by going to Twitter and saying that she doesn't want to be called a birthing person.
Yeah,
that spiraled from there.
If you guys are interested, I have the tweet. I can read it. Just so she said, "I'm a woman. Please don't ever refer to me as a person with a uterus, birthing person, or a person who menstruates. How do people not realize how degrading this is? You can support the transgender community without doing this shit." And that's ridiculous, because nobody.
Yeah. That when she. Sorry, go ahead.
No. You go ahead. I've been talking.
I was just gonna say it like the part where she said like, or when she brought up the uterus thing, like that. When I was like, hold on a second. I was like, hold on. Where is all this coming from? Where is all this hostility coming from?
But I'm gonna go out here. She's not exactly incorrect, right? If someone called me a man with a dick, I'm gonna take it a lot more offensive than someone called me a man, right? Like it's a lot more offensive than a person with a dick. If someone called me, oh look, it's a person with a dick, like I'm gonna be a little bit more offended than if someone called me like a man, like hey look, it's a man. Like,
that's
the thing. And so if I say don't ever call me a person with a dick, like that to me is offensive, because you're just basically ascribing everything I am to one part of my body, right? Then like, yes, that's offensive to me. Don't ever call me that. Like,
but nobody's
real quick.
Forcing
real quick.
This
is like two seconds. I think the part where everyone had so much of a problem with what she said was, do you not see how degrading that is? She is basically saying that other people, or at least this is how I interpret it, that other people are basically, I guess, degrading her and also degrading like themselves when they talk about themselves like that, because she said that referring to yourself as a birthing person or referring to yourself as a person with a uterus is a degrading thing. But that's what a lot of people want to refer themselves as. Huh?
Would you feel that it was degrading if I called you a person with a dick?
I think I can.
I was going to try and bridge the gap here, but go ahead.
No. I think I understand where Sprout's coming from. I'm just saying that, like, yes, me personally, I probably would be like, I don't think I'd probably find it degrading. I'd just be like, oh, okay, like you call me that, I'd be like, whatever. I personally probably wouldn't like let it slide off my. I probably would just let it slide off my back. But what I'm saying is that she's basically making this decision for other people, or at least that's how it sounds. Like she's making this decision for other people, saying that this thing is degrading. It's degrading for her, maybe, but it might not be degrading for like another person. And like, and Sprout, like I respect that, like what you said, 100%. Like I'm not disagreeing with you here. I think I'm just trying to like explain where I feel that a lot of people had contention.
I'm sorry that I'm cutting in. It's just I feel
Go
like
ahead,
I
I was
can
done.
clarify something here. I just want to read this. Like I'll just read it because this was someone who responded to her on Twitter. Actually, I don't know if you guys know David Dole, the Rational National. He said this, and I thought it kind of like is pretty concise, and it like pretty much explains like why she should not take offense to that term, and she knows this. It is right here. Regarding the birthing people comment, you'll have a tough time finding anyone with a real following that's claiming birthing people should replace women in all conversation. It's terminology used in academic papers and politics when it's about literal anatomy. The pushback from the left is on adapting right-wing framing of a non-issue used by the right to further otherize trans people during an unprecedented attack on their existence. So that last line isn't,
I think I've seen that tweet. Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah.
The point is that like nobody's forcing her to use that term, and it's used in a very specific, a very specific place, in laws and in like academia. So it's not something, like I said before, it's like one of these manufactured nothing burger non-controversies that she whips into a controversy.
I don't necessarily know about that though. I don't think this is all being like just come up with on the tip of a hat. Like we don't have her Twitter username and password. Like we can't go through and find the comments that people maybe have called her a birthing person in comments where maybe it kind of went until it just tumbled into this big thing that in her mind was a big thing. Everyone else's mind's like, whoa, what the heck? Maybe it's not just medical papers. Maybe it's Twitter comments. Maybe it's YouTube comments. Maybe it's being called a birthing person by someone that she's being interviewed by on CNN or whatever that might be. Maybe it's a bunch of those combined, and then all of a sudden she's like, "I'm done with it. Stop."
She's been asked 1,000 times, like, can you give one example of this happening? She's never furnished it.
She said, "I'm from California." That was
she did give examples, but the examples that she gave were political uses of it. So it was like AOC using it, right? So I don't think that her examples that she gave were like the best examples, but my issue that I saw with it is that, like, obviously in some cases we can't get away from bioessentializing, right? Like in medical context, right? We kind of have to do that, probably in law as well, very much so. Politics, however, also has more than just a legal side to it. It also has a social side to it. And my issue with it was, if this is language that is being used to sort of like bioessentialize groups of people in political language, that's something I can easily see being used also in a way against us, right? And so that's something, for instance, this is something that TERFs have done and talked about. I'm not talking about all women. I'm talking about women with uteruses, right? And so that's something that's actually been said by TERFs before. They do bioessentialize people in order to exclude trans people from their group and from those who they advocate for. And so this is where I see a problem. It's one thing to go into a setting like law, where you do have to bioessentialize sometimes, or medical, where you have to do that. It's another thing entirely to do the social part of it, where you're actually disseminating this as a social language to communicate with broader audiences. So that's where I run into a little bit of a problem there. The problem is, how do we address that? Like, my critique of Ana Kasparian at the time was, instead of saying when a woman needs an abortion, she could have just said, or she said, if a woman needs an abortion, she could have said, if a person needs an abortion. There's no reason to go any further into bioessentializing. You can just say, if a person needs one. Perfect. You're golden. Boom. Right?
I want to shoot out with Sprouticus on his points.
That was so.
That was amazing.
Exciting.
Based.
Yes. Okay.
That was awesome.
Better than the
Sprouticus.
Daily Double from Jeopardy.
Yes, Sprouticus and Aaron, you two, go ahead. Everybody else, I got y'all on mute.
Let's do
Okay.
this cage match. Come on.
Okay, hell yeah. So, Sprouticus, you said that you wouldn't like to be referred to as a man with a penis. Totally within your right. I totally understand that. However, there is already examples of medicalized language that we could say is equally as degrading to men, like sperm donors. Okay, you're reducing somebody who donates to somebody who just is a machine of sperm or something like that. And I say the same way that like people don't give that sort of language any thought as equivalent to the same way we could just like I don't really see the big deal with like birthing persons personally.
Wait a second. We don't give sperm donor any type of thought. But what do exes who hate their ex, right? They're like, oh, my ex is a piece of shit that doesn't take care of the kid, whatever. They get out of my life. I don't want him in my kid's life whatsoever. He's just a fucking sperm donor. Right? That's what people say when they've got grievances against their ex and they've had a kid together, is the woman in the situation will call the man a sperm donor. So to say that's not derogatory in and of itself, even used outside of medical terminology, is factually incorrect.
No, well, I mean, in this random anecdote, sure, in that context or whatever, but I think the issue is not so much the term, it's the fact that like they're attempting to use it in a derogatory manner. So if people were using birthing person towards Anna in this example in a derogatory manner, then I could understand the like revulsion to it. But the people who she cited as using it in like common parlance and colloquially were AOC and the ACLU. But it's like, if you advocate for Medicare for all and comprehensive medical care for everybody, that language is going to need to be specific for like a term like birthing person or whatever, which isn't actually as interchangeable with women as people think, because there's plenty of women who actually don't have the capacity to give birth or get pregnant any longer because they've had a hysterectomy, they don't have a uterus, they're sterile, they're elderly, they're young.
They'd still be considered a birthing person.
What?
If they're sterile or if they've had a hysterectomy, it's still be considered a birthing person. Yes, like
there are cis women that are sterile and
they'd still be considered a birthing person.
Why? They don't have the capacity to give birth anymore.
Go take a look at any of the legal terminology in which birthing person is used. Go take a look at the medical terminology where the birthing person is used. They would include people who are sterile and people who have had hysterectomies, people who are incapable of giving birth. It would include them.
Sterile person.
Huh?
Why would the term birthing person refer to a sterile person who can't get pregnant or give birth?
Because it was trying to be generalized. They were trying to generalize women to include trans women as well.
Right. Why generalize when you can use language that is inclusive and specific enough to target the people that it's intended to?
Okay, what would your terminology be? Because I'm interested in what your terminology would be.
Women and people who can get pregnant.
I'm sorry?
Women and people who can get pregnant. I think that's appropriate for AOC and the ACLU to use in the context of discussing medical care for everybody.
That's just factually incorrect. Go take a look at any terminology where it's actually used. You're going to realize it's incorrect.
This is an opinion, but...
You're going to realize it's incorrect. Go take a look at it.
All right, everybody's unmuted.
Okay, so who gives a fuck if, like, it's such a trivial thing. Like you mentioned Sprouticus, like what if she actually had some like private struggle that we don't know about? Well, that's the thing. Like, she either needs to furnish evidence that this is legitimately something that is causing her distress, that it's something that is understandable to cause someone distress, or because if she can't do that, then again, like I said earlier, she's going against kind of the ethics that TYT has put forward in the past. They kind of, they say that they are, that they look out for people's rights and kind of the underdog and things like that. And what she's doing by magnifying this non-issue is she is amplifying transphobia. She is making it seem like this is
I want to shoot out with Vadim now.
It's completely
okay.
TYT.
Let's go.
Okay, so I'm really wanting to
3 minutes
challenge
on the
you
clock. Go ahead.
on this
Mhm.
claim that she's amplifying transphobia, because I don't see that. So how is this the case?
I mean, it's like I think I've laid it out. She is magnifying non-issues and making them seem like they are controversies and they are like things that are worthy of bitching about. And that puts like a trans people and their allies under like a it like just kind of makes them out to be very unreasonable. And it would be one thing if she was picking issues that actually like have something to them, but just so many of them are just like total bullshit. Plus, on top of that, I can give other examples. She has like basically spoken highly of Jesse Signal, who is a total turf. Like he's a like reporter who reports on trans issues. And what else? I
So
think I started making a list here.
okay, so I don't see how it is that she's like spreading transphobia with this, though. You could say that she's making a mountain out of a molehill. Sure, that's not an issue there. I totally agree with you on that. Now, the question is, how is she spreading transphobia? That I don't actually see, because it's not like she's painting the entire trans community with this. She talks about it being a subset of people who are fanatical. She doesn't talk about it being the general trans community. She makes that very clear. She makes the distinction. The stuff regarding with Jesse Singal, she said that Jesse Singal, that she doesn't see him as being a transphobe, just as someone who is looking into things that he is skeptical of and wants to know more about. And I've gone through Jesse Singal's writing. I've gone through his whole report on the puberty blockers and everything. I don't see anything about it being like outwardly transphobic. I see it as him going, okay, I want to know more about this. And for some reason, I'm getting a lot of resistance when I want to know more about this. When I go digging for the information, there's people pushing back on it. So I haven't seen him go and say anything like trans people are invalid. I haven't seen him say anything like trans women aren't women. I haven't seen him anything like say trans men aren't men. I haven't seen any of these things from her or from Jesse Singal. So even her giving a little bit of support to Jesse Singal, right, and kind of standing up for him, I don't see how that's magnifying or disseminating transphobia of any kind. So this seems just overblown to me. It seems hyperbolic, and it seems a little bit like the queer folk who cried wolf to me.
I mean, it's just totally like bad faith 101 to harp on non-issues and make them sound like they are a big deal. That's exactly what she's doing.
But it's not spreading transphobia, though, at least. So not turfy, just a little skeptical in a way that we don't always agree with, right?
No. The shit that she's saying, it like tracks like in the beginning when what's her name, fucking billionaire Harry Potter author, what? J.K. Rowling.
Everybody's unmuted. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Like when J.K. Rowling started kind of saying turfy shit, and people were like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" There were a lot of like, for instance, you even pointed out the kind of essentialation. What was the term that you used?
Bioessentialism.
Yes, bioessentialism. It's employing lots of like little buzzwords and things like that that really are indicative of turfy rhetoric. It's just I'm surprised that you don't see it.
I just don't see that. It doesn't seem like it to me, and I'm not sure what those buzzwords are you're talking about. The very fact that she's pushing back on bioessentialism in her arguments should show that
she refers to herself as a biological woman, and she uses that in like a very pointed way, in the same way that like.
What do you mean, like a pointed way, though?
Well, I mean that like I wish I had the tweet in front of me, but one that I was like looking over earlier, she said like, I'm a biological woman, and the tweet made it sound as if those who she was arguing against like have like do not see her that way, or think that you know what, I'll try and find it right now.
Vadim, have you ever been texting and like you sent a text and then the person that got all offended and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? And then they're like, well, you just said this. Like, no, that's not the fucking way I said it. this is literally what you're describing from a tweet.
No,
You're like, the
not
way
at
she
all,
said it
because
on
she's had
Twitter,
so
the
many.
way she typed it out, because I know what she meant when the way she typed it out.
Yeah,
This
of
is
course.
exactly
Look,
what's
I'm
happening.
Look.
Well,
I
but
want
then
to
we have to
reiterate
realize
right
of
here.
intent versus
Yeah,
impact,
go
right?
ahead.
Sorry, I just have a few things here. It's like, I mean, yeah, and this might be going off a little bit on a bit of a tangent, but intent versus impact, right? And like all actuality, like you might not think the thing that you're tweeting or the thing that you're saying, like over text, right, is like harmful or it's gonna come off as like rude or something like that. But then once another person reads it, then we now have a different, we have a new hat in the ring, or another set of eyes, I should say, that is looking at that and giving their opinion on it. But also, I wanted to say, wasn't there something that she said about puberty blockers being damaging or harmful at some point?
She was saying that
that
she was saying that the information that she's seen from reading up on it is that it's not entirely reversible, and that they do have some side effects that would be introduced if they had not been on, if that would be introduced as part of the treatment if they had not been on them in the first place. So that was what she had said. She was being pretty specific. I think people will often take that out of context and kind of twist it and inflate it to be more than it is. So it's not that she's saying that we shouldn't do puberty blockers. It's not that she's saying that puberty blockers are just outright harmful. Is that she's saying that what's being disseminated about them right now seems to be not being as critical and not allowing as much of the information that can be counter to what's being said about them. And so she wants to be able to talk about that, and she wants that information to be able to be out there. And that's basically what Jesse Singal was also doing with his article on that. And I read through that whole thing. It didn't seem like, it seems to me as someone being skeptical and wanting to know, okay, why were these results not given out to the public? Why is this not being talked about right now? Why is the narrative going in this direction when we clearly have this information here that's counter to this specific thing in this narrative? It's all about being skeptical, being critical, which I don't have an issue with. I'm okay with people being skeptical and critical. I want people to be thinking advocates. If they're going to be an advocate for marginalized groups, I don't want them to just be like a brainwashed person who doesn't think for themselves, who will parrot anything, because that very person is also capable of being a puppet for bad actors. Like, I don't want her to just be like saying yes to whatever the trans advocacy is just because someone is trans, because if that's her ethos, then she could easily be persuaded by some bad actor like Blair White or something, right? So I want people to be skeptical. I want them to be critical. I want them to ask questions. And I think it's okay for them to ask questions. And that doesn't make them a transphobe. It doesn't make them a TERF. I think we should be way more rigid in our use of these terms as opposed to just trying to find a way to slap it on her as soon as she has some questions or some doubts.
Sonia, I don't even disagree with you though on the
sorry.
whole, like, we should be like, critical thinkers or whatever. I don't think that we should just, dogmatically bow down to trans activists, to trans people or whatever. I don't really know who's even like advocating that. And I don't think what it means to be a good quote unquote ally means that you have to just wholesale endorse or get on board with what you perceive to be some sort of consensus among trans people, because I feel like there's a lot of infighting between like trans people, activists. Like, there's never been one, opinion shared by all trans people. So it's not anything to do with like a disagreement, like with her being like critical or anything like that. But given what she, like, the fact that there's a clip from like several months earlier debunking her own tweet regarding like the birthing people or whatever, I'm not surprised that people who are maybe taking a more skeptical or critical look at some of the concerns that she has as perhaps being in bad faith or just being an attempt at concern trolling and a way for her to masquerade. Yeah, like a way for her to masquerade just outright skepticism that she's nervous about just stating outright. Being charitable to her, she's skeptical about stating that because she doesn't want to get canceled or whatever.
Well, I mean, these are valid concerns that you're bringing up. And these, I think, are great. But the problem is when you jump from that to she's a TERF or she's TERFy, there's no real difference, I think, in saying that she's a TERF or TERFy, because you're basically saying that she's acting like a TERF when you say she's being TERFy. Oh, yeah. So you may as well say she's a TERF. I agree. And that's the problem. I want
to say also, like, with the whole puberty blockers thing, like what Straighterade was saying or leading up to, is that, like, considering how Ana Kasparian has such a large platform, how she's so well known. With great power comes great responsibility. And the thing is that if she understands all of like the turmoil that is surrounding the trans community right now, I personally, like, even if I did have a skepticism about puberty blockers or whatever, if I was someone in Anna's shoes who has such a large platform, I don't think I would vocalize that on Twitter necessarily if I'm skeptical about it. I would continue to research in private, because I know that like anybody, any right winger or transphobe or whoever, any body that's anti-trans could use what I'm saying with my large platform and say, see, look, this is why, being trans is bad or whatever, making a mountain out of a molehill or whatever.
So
that
comes down
like responsibility and responsible platforming or responsible use of a platform.
And
So you're saying,
I get where you're going with that, but I have a couple
disagreements. Is like, get on board or get off the train. Like,
no, that's not what I'm saying.
Hold on, I think I've got a more charitable interpretation of what he's saying. So I don't have a problem with what you said there. My thing is, well, first of all, I'm not aware of what she said on Twitter with regard to the puberty blockers. I'm only aware of the segment that she did on TYT
segment,
itself.
Sorry, yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, not.
And
wait.
I felt overall it wasn't like irresponsible, but she was heated when she was giving it. Now, the one real disagreement I have with you on this, though, is that we seem to, like, oftentimes on the left have a little bit of a double standard where we say, oh, don't worry about catering to the toxic narratives of our haters because we can't do anything about it anyway. They're always going to take us in bad faith. They're always going to straw man us. So why bother trying to cater our words to not play into their narratives? That's what we usually say. But then suddenly when Anna is having some questions about this and some doubts and wanting to be a little bit more skeptical, suddenly we're like, whoa, hold on. You can't say this way because you're going to play into toxic narratives that haters, and transphobes have about us. Well, and sure, so it's like we switched that rule.
I would say it depends upon like the context of like each thing that you're talking about, right? Like right now we know that there's like a whole thing with like conservative parents or just parents in general who are weirdos right now that are like a little bit skeptical, I guess, or a little bit weirded out by trans people and trans kids existing, right? So my thing is that like, yes, because I add that line that you said, Zonia, of the right is just going to straw man us regardless, or just deliberately misinterpret what we're saying. That is true, but also there's just like certain things that I just would not like say because that is like just a blatant thing that they could definitely 100% use, or that is just not really, in all honesty, like helping the situation. So it's like I just think she should not have. She should have kept that internally, and considering how volatile the climate is, especially around things like trans children and what have you, where people are just kind of fishing and looking for anything that they can use to say like, oh, they're groomers or they're killing kids or whatever.
If she felt that she had discovered some like critical information, should she hide it? Like
that's not what happened though. Is the thing she was saying that she doesn't have enough information, or that she doesn't. Or that she's like, what's it called?
She's saying she wants more information.
Yeah, wants more information. Right.
Also, but isn't it appropriate for her to be honest about that kind of thing? If she feels like she's towing the line that is appropriate for the politics, but that's a dishonest representation, shouldn't she voice her conflicts with it and concerns?
Then why is she going to be surprised when people punch back?
And
like she's using very.
I agree with you there. She's overreacted.
Like that's why I'm like, I cannot believe that she's had. I grew up watching her or whatever, and I can't believe that like, given how long she's been in media or whatever, I'm like, this is really your first time being like canceled on Twitter, like getting shit on Twitter. Like I can't believe it. Like literally over like a decade in like online independent media or whatever, and I'm like, seriously, like I look at Jenk and like Jenk gets ratioed like every fucking tweet practically. So I'm surprised that like if that's all it takes for her to like shift her opinion on that, it's surprising to me that she's like been in journalism that long, which is again speaks back to the original question that we started this panel with, which is that like, is this a sincere change of heart, or is this something that she's doing strategically or whatever? Like, Ana Kasparian works on a network that has over 5.5 million subscribers. Why is she going on people like Adam and Sitch's show? That's a relatively small channel, And
She's
you know,
been
people
going on
were
a few smaller channels lately.
but-
She was
but-
on
All right,
the
we're gonna
Bosches
let
as well.
hold on.
If
We're
she
gonna let
did-
Sprout
if she-
respond,
if she
and
did
then
what
we'll
you guys
go to Vadim right after.
If
Go
she
ahead,
did
Sprout.
what you guys are suggesting her, if she did what you guys are suggesting her to do, which is to keep quiet, kind of like just do this in the background, don't be vocal about it, just kind of do it in the background because you don't want to hurt the movement, etc., and so on, and then eventually came out because she thought she had enough evidence to kind of like to back her opinion, and then there would be so much more backlash. There'd be so much more backlash because you guys would all be like, oh, whoa, what the heck? You said all this on this show, and now all of a sudden you're just changing sides. Now all of a sudden you're making this like drastic change.
She said she was politically homeless. That's how she views herself.
And I feel politically homeless right now too. But
I know, but I'm saying that that's not coming out of nowhere. That's literally people just repeating back her words to her, which is that she doesn't feel like she's necessarily part of the left any longer.
Okay.
Okay, so like again, like
but there's
if this is cancellation, this is a
suggestion.
self-cancellation then, because if she wants to remove herself from that partisan label, then that's fine. But I don't think there's anything wrong with people engaging in the back and forth with that.
I want to say
there's the suggestion made by Eli that she should just keep quiet and be able to do all this in the background. If she did that and then came out afterwards, it would be like there would be so much more conversation that this is not genuine, etc., and so on.
All right,
that's not what I'm saying though. What
Eli,
I'm saying
go ahead and
is that
correct it, and then we're gonna go to Vadim right after.
Oh yeah. Just real quick. I'm not saying that she should just keep quiet. I'm just saying basically there's like a time and place, and there's there's a different way. When you have a platform that big, you have to watch what you say and like also how you say it. Like I could say, I can't think of any examples off the top of my head right now, just because of where my brain is, how my brain is working right now. But like I could say one thing and it will sound one way, but I could say another. I could say the exact same thing in another way, and somebody else interpret what I just said completely differently. And that's what we gotta keep in mind as content creators: the things we say and how we say them. That's it.
Like why I agree with you.
We're gonna go to Vadim. Hold on. We're gonna go to Vadim.
Okay, so yeah, Zonia, I don't think that Sprouticus, I don't think that she should be quiet at all. If she has thoughts, as stupid as they might be, go ahead and voice them. But the thing is that she does not engage with those who offer good faith corrections, and as a matter of fact, I have a lot of friends who are kind of some of the main people that she has kind of badmouthed recently, who like I know, like I've talked with these people about this very issue. They have always had a great deal of respect for Ana. These are people who have worked with her in on TYT and in other places, and they recognize her kind of important place within the media, and maybe it's kind of changed, but they had for a very long time a great deal of respect for her. So what I'm saying is that these are people who approached her in very honest ways and have pointed out exactly what is wrong with certain things that she said. Just she straight up doesn't respond to any of this. And it's not like they're the only people out there who have offered these like good faith critiques. There's lots of others, like tons of people on the internet. Yes, you're going to have people who are really unreasonable, who are like basically like calling her a Nazi, but it's like there's just there's no shortage of very like chill people who want to engage with her on this, and she just refuses to, and it's bullshit, like it really is.
The thing is, we don't have any way. Go ahead, Sprout.
When you come out with something, and human brains, it's there. I can pull up slides if you want to, but human brains tend to focus more on negative than positive. So if you're receiving the certain percentage of negative feedback, that percentage can seem larger because your brain is naturally going to focus more on the negative than the positive. It's why a lot of YouTubers and a lot of Twitch people deal with like thinking about a lot of negative comments, because they see the negative comments and the positive comments just kind of slip on right by. So the idea that the pushback that she's receiving, all this like serious serious negative hate that she could be just focusing on. It could be very much so. She feels cornered and she feels like she needs to bat her way out.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, she's going to be stuck in this corner. So she could be extremely in defense mode, being like, no, I'm right. I'm gonna fight my way out of this corner. And whether it's good or bad, it's Twitter, right?
I agree. She is digging her heels in, for sure.
And Vadim is talking about like people that she knows, not just Twitter people. Now the problem is, I know who some of those people are, and I know what some of those conversations were, and they didn't sound very good faith to me. Like the one in particular who's made the most noise lately, Benny, approached her in a very bad faith way and started going at her on Twitter, called her a TERF, and said that her language was TERFy, said things were transphobic before even engaging with her in like a good faith conversation. So basically put up a wall and it made it impossible for a good faith conversation to be had between them, Benny and Jank and Anna.
Sure.
So like that's part of the problem, which I would say was sort of like this I don't want to say like woke culture. I feel like I'm kind of memeing around when I say I'm going to destroy wokeism, right? Because I'm sort of supposed to be on the opposite side of the fence. But there is a problem with the conduct and approach with people who want to just instantly say, you're being transphobic, sock them in the face, basically. Like, okay, now that I punch you in the face, you ready to have a good faith conversation? Fuck no, of course not. You're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you calling me transphobic? Why are you calling me a TERF? This is not productive.
And Anna's not a fucking idiot. She knows that people can be, can say and do racist things without
is that a good faith
a great
conversation
deal of like enmity in their heart. And so,
But if you walk up to her and say, Anna, you're being transphobic, do you think that's a great way to start a good faith conversation about the nuances of what it is that she's saying?
Look. You can. I do not agree with your characterization of Ben Carrillo's approach. However, let's say, just for the sake of the argument, that she was beyond the pale and she was not cool. The leftist mafia, with the exception of one member, I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. This is Dave Figueredo, the Humanist Report, David Dole, Lance from the Serfs. These are all people who have been somewhat close to her, or maybe not close, but very friendly with her, have worked with her. And really they're not people who want her to be a TERF. They are people who want her to be on they're not looking for a fight here. Basically, they if you look at
didn't Lance start out pretty early with a hit piece on her? He was one of the first people to jump on it.
He tweeted the clip at her own clip at her. I remember that. But I remember, I watched the episode of The Leftist Mafia, which is the reason that she even found the Sitch and Adams show, is because they respond to it and trashed it. But the first, it was a 40-minute segment within an hour, an over an hour long podcast. And 20 of those 40 minutes was dedicated to David Dole, Matt Binder, Lance, multiple people on that panel, giving a lot of caveats and couching their languages okay, I'm not saying Anna's a TERF, and I like her work and I'm a fan of her, and just offering very comprehensive and substantial critique of the tweet, the backlash that she was getting. As far as I remember,
disagree with your characterization of the panel. I disagree with the characterization of it.
Well, I remember.
Also, did they invite her to the panel?
What? I know that they all privately messaged her, but I don't think they invited her. No.
So
maybe they did.
Real quick. We did invite all of those people to this panel, but I want to ask a couple of questions before we move on to the next topic for a couple of people. Vadim, you said earlier she needs to substantiate.
I have something to say too, by the way.
Have a kid if that's possibly the issue. How, what exactly would you expect in that scenario? Her showing medical records?
No. I'm saying that she should substantiate. If she is going to make a big deal out of, say, the term birthing person, if she's going to basically because it has to do with the fact that right now, obviously, trans rights are under unprecedented attack. And so it's like, if she is going to take the opportunity to make something into an issue, then I think that she needs to kind of like show the internet, hey, look, this actually is something that that I am dealing with. Look at all of these people who are just forcing me to call myself a birthing person, or who are hurling this at me like some sort of slur. And she can't even show one example of it. Not one example.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Sprout, you earlier, Aaron was explaining to you that she thinks that they're using these like these terms for groups of people, and you were saying, well, in legislation that's not the case, but like, or that it's not excluding people who can't give birth. If it was used the way that Aaron was saying, would you be okay with that, or would you think that that was at least better?
If it was used in the way Aaron is saying, then the idea that this term would literally just be medical and legal. This term wouldn't even hit social. And I think that's honestly where this term should have stayed. And to go a little bit further in this, because I had a little bit more in between the two. Just sperm donor, the medical definition for sperm donor, if it's a parent, a donor for medical or surgical procedure, and sperm donor for if it's talking about like the children, it's sperm donor for artificial insemination. So there are medical definitions for sperm donor, and when sperm donor is used any way outside of the medical definitions, it is meant to be derogatory.
Okay, and then last question, and then we'll go to closing statements, and you guys can all get out your last thoughts on this. Straighterade. You understand, so the Benny, the mod team, I think maybe even the woke mafia, they did call Anna a transphobe and racist. The Benny did.
I know
and
Benny
the mod
Benny
team
called
did.
her like a turf. She was like, I straight up think she's personally transphobic or whatever. I'm like, in her responsibility, but who did on the leftist mafia?
I said I think the leftist mafia. I can't remember if they actually did that, but the mod team in their letter about it also called her transphobic and racist, and then so did Benny. Do you agree with those statements, or do you think that they were being good faith in those criticisms?
I'm not familiar with them, so I can't speak to whether or not they're made in good faith. Even if they were made in good or bad faith, it wouldn't actually speak to whether or not the argument has any merit. It's possible that it could be in bad faith and she could be transphobic. It's also possible it could be made in like that aside or whatever, there could be validity to it. I would have to see how they substantiate that, because from what I know about Ana Kasparian, I don't think the term turf or racist describes her accurately, so I wouldn't refer to her that way. But as like a general rule for myself, I don't like to use these words as like nouns, really. I try to use them as like they're more useful as like adjectives. Do you know what I mean? Like you said something racist, you said something transphobic, because then you can point to something specifically that you took umbrage with, and you can explain to them your disagreement with them. Because if you're essentializing somebody to say you're a racist, you're a transphobe, what you're essentially saying is that like what way out are you giving them to actually move off of the position, or explain to them like why you believe you're characterizing them in this way. I do think it can sometimes, if it's not accurate, will stifle discourse and conversation. So that's not how I use those words, and I wouldn't agree with those characterizations now.
Okay. All right. We'll go to closing statements. Eli, I'll let you go ahead and start off with closing statements. 1 minute, please.
Yeah. So I do not necessarily think that first off, I want to say my original point at the beginning, I feel still stands. I don't necessarily think that Ana Kasparian is like this huge turf or this huge transphobe. I do think that what this really is right now is her ego is getting in the way of everything else. That is basically how I see it. It's just this person who is not used to being corrected by people who she considers to be constituents, or people who she says she advocates for, is now all of a sudden getting angry and upset and bent out of shape because the very group that she has been gassed up by and has been helping or what have you is now calling her out or is correcting her. I also want to say this earlier, but someone touched up on her tweeting or saying that she was politically homeless. I just want to say that if people being mean to you, or if people, canceling you or calling you on Twitter is all it takes for you to go, I'm politically homeless, then that makes me question like what you were doing and why you were doing it. You shouldn't be politically homeless based off of you shouldn't be engaging in politics because you want to be a part of a group or a certain group of people. And that's what it seems like people are trying to do when they say that, like, oh, I left the left because they were mean to me. No, maybe just don't interact with other lefties. And, we get it. A lot of us suck. A lot of us are, really difficult to talk to and deal with. But if that's all it takes to get you politically homeless, there might be some things that you need to unpack. So,
all right, Vadim.
Yeah, I don't know how much else what else I have to say. I mean, I want to emphasize again that Anne is actually someone that I had on my channel, or the talking cat that used to host my channel interviewed her one time. She was lovely.
Did I hear Creationist cat meowing earlier, or was that Zonia's cat?
Krisha's cat is not in this room, so that might have been
Yeah, that was my kitty.
I was excited to have a celebrity, like the audio
well,
of
Puka's a celebrity. What are you talking about?
Nobody cares.
Anytime I bring him up, chat goes crazy. All three chats go crazy.
Nobody cares. Get out of here. All right, sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, she was just very giving with her time. She was great. She was great in like every single way, and we created what I thought was like a really fucking funny episode of Creationist Cat Chat. But I guess I'm just bringing that up to say, like, I don't have an axe to grind with her. I very much, and I think everyone that I'm talking about, including Ben, but definitely all of the leftist mafia and many people who have been kind of like trying to speak with her about these issues. Like, we want her as an ally. We don't want her. We don't want her to be this person that we bitch about and point out how she is making mountains out of molehills left and right, and also just basically acting as though bullshit talking points have merit. No, that's not the case. But she is just. I agree that she is definitely, and Cenk too, are digging their heels in and being stubborn, but that just doesn't excuse it. It doesn't excuse shit. At this point, it's just, it's way too much. And the last thing I'll say is just, I don't think that this is, like, I don't see it getting better. These sorts of things usually seem to kind of just, I don't know, especially when somebody says that they're politically homeless and kind of start, I don't know, like second guessing their leftism. It doesn't end well. You get your Dave Rubins, you get your Tim Pools and shit like that. So hopefully that it won't devolve into that mess. Probably won't. But anyway, there you go.
All right, thank you, Aaron.
I feel like I wish my outro could literally just be like the small domino meme to like the big domino, the small domino being like Anna tweeting this thing out, the big domino being like this panel, my closing statement. But I will say this. I feel like all of this started with her reaction to the birthing person tweet. So to me, it's like, Anna, friend, you are the terminally online one here. I've never heard this discourse outside in like the real world, quote unquote, related to like birthing people. I can understand people's trepidations about it because, birthing person to somebody who's not familiar with the term, I can't understand how it comes off as 1984 Orwellian newspeak or whatever. But I think these are opportunities to educate people about why inclusive language can be useful in medical contexts, academic contexts, as opposed to just tweeting out, you can support trans people without doing this shit, because using inclusive language in healthcare, like legislation or whatever, is part of supporting trans people and being inclusive of trans men, non-binary people in comprehensive like healthcare efforts. And I also wanted to say that, like, if she doesn't like the response, like the backlash, I can completely understand that. But I feel like Anna has probably contributed to this hyperpolarization in her own reporting. She was able to very competently debate against Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro. If I looked up videos on Ben Shapiro and Dennis Prager that she's done, I am sure that I would be shocked if she didn't say some sort of ad hominem insult at them, that they're an idiot, that they're saying something racist, that they're dumb or whatever. And yet she was still able to have productive dialogue with them at a different time. So if she wants to use, ad homs or whatever as like shields or try to assess whether or not someone's good or bad faith. To me, it's like that aside or whatever. If you feel like, you know, you believe in the points that you have, I think you should actually just, even if you don't feel like it, give them the benefit of the doubt and contend with their arguments and not try to assess if they're good or bad faith or whatever, because on that basis alone, Ben Shapiro would be justified in not giving her the time of day to have a conversation with her, you know? So I think she should do it to people to her left. I think, you know, she's using her track record and her reporting as like, this is why I'm like a trans ally. And I would agree with that. But on the Adam and Sitch show, she was saying, I'm embarrassed about a lot of my reporting in the past and I'm trying to change it. So I'm like, do you stand by your track record and your media reporting, or do you disavow that and you say that you're embarrassed by it now? So, you know, it remains to be seen. I don't think she's a massive transphobe. I still think she's like very much progressive, but we'll see.
All right. Zonia.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that the trans community, we've got a lot of fighting to do. We've got a lot working against us right now, and so we need all the allies we can get. And there's no such thing as the perfect ally. We're going to have to deal with a lot of flawed allies, ones who won't even fight for us on all issues, but they'll fight for us on some issues. And so that's something that we can work with. That's somebody that we can work with. And though, like, I agree with Aaron's showing that Anna can sit down and have a pretty civil conversation with people that she vehemently disagrees with, I think that's very different from the kind of sparring people do with large masses on Twitter. And I think there's a lot of hope for Anna. I think we could do one-on-one conversations with her, just like she did with Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro. I think that's very much a thing. And again, I want to stress the point, there's no such thing as a perfect ally, and we have a lot of fighting ahead of us. So I think an important thing to do would be to find ways to help more productively communicate with her instead of just going after her and saying, you're a TERF. Oh, by the way, can we have a conversation about this? I think we can actually do like a real productive conversation. Be like, hey, I'd like to talk to you about the details of this stuff. I'd like to talk to you about how it is that you've changed on this and maybe see where you sit with it. And maybe I can move you on some things while we talk about it. That's the kind of thing that we can do. And that has a lot of potential for success because we've seen that with her other conversations that she's had with people. So I don't think we should conflate her sparring with a whole bunch of randos on Twitter with her one-on-one conversations with people that she has political disagreement with. And I think that a really important thing for us to also keep in mind is that the more that we try to find ways to quickly label and dismiss imperfect allies, the more we divide and weaken our base of power. Right. And that's something, if you care about what conservatives care about in terms of weaponizing language against us, you should care a lot about our own internal efforts to divide ourselves and weaken our power base in a way that would benefit those who work against us, those who seek to eliminate us legislatively or otherwise.
All right. And Sprouticus.
Yeah. This is going to be, the left, the way she believes is the left left her. It's the same way I believe the right left me. I believe that I've kind of stood still or maybe moved a little bit, but I believe for the large majority, the right has left me. But what didn't cause that, what didn't cause me to come to these revelations, what didn't cause me to talk to these people was not like the people that called me transphobic, wasn't the people that called me names, wasn't the people that called me like slurs to start off with. It was the people that openly accepted my conversation, my invitation for like conversation about it. And then being able to talk to them civilly and being able to talk to them without like fear of repercussion. Right. I didn't go there thinking like, oh no, if this conversation goes bad, that I'm going to be canceled on Twitter. No, I went there with the conversation, with the idea that this could be a good conversation, be good faith conversation, and that maybe something good could come out of it. That's how I've gotten where I'm at, is by talking to people and what I believe to be good faith conversations. If they started off by calling me transphobic, or if they started off by calling me slurs, I wouldn't think it was a good faith conversation. So if you wanted to have a good faith conversation with Anna, you don't start off by calling her slurs. You don't start off by calling her TERF or transphobic or whatever the word you may want to use. You don't start off by calling her that, and maybe you could have a good faith conversation, and maybe there could be like a benefit to that conversation. But it doesn't seem like the internet wants to do that. It doesn't seem like the big personalities want to do that. They want to call names first and have a quote unquote good faith conversation afterwards.
let's jump into the second topic. Also, everybody, if you guys want to follow any of these people, go over to youtube.com/tomfooleryshow. In the description, we've got all of their links to their Twitter, their YouTube channels, Instagrams, all that crap. So make sure you go over there, give them a follow.
Disclaimer, my Twitter is pretty dangerous.
Okay. Let's get it. Second topic. What is woke culture, and can wokeism exist without going too far? For this for this one, we will start with Sprouticus.
All right. So woke culture, woke culture is when wokeism takes over, right? And so wokeism is something that should not be in society. We should not continue wokeism. Wokeism only invokes people to be more and more woke, right? It invokes people to go more and more down this path, right? Until we reach absolutely asinine depths, and then we have to pull it back. Then we have to pull it back. Wait, wait, too far, and then we invoke wokeism again, right? And it just keeps going. It's this repetitive cycle to where we keep going further and further and further until it's just asinine, and then we're like, wait, let's pull that back. We're gonna move backwards now, because wokeism or woke culture, the idea that everyone's trying to be the most woke, right? And so that's the simple idea of it. You get more views by being woke. You get more, the more woke you are, the more views you get, comments, Twitter, more tweets you get, the more comments, whatever. So the idea of wokeism needs to go away. We just need to stick basically to this is our philosophy, this is our politics, this is what we believe, and this is what we're going to kind of push moving forward. The whole idea of wokeism is it's a self-defeating philosophy.
All right, Straighterade.
This very topic is the only thing that like launched me into like being like somewhat viral or whatever, is like my debate on like college wokeness or whatever. Wokeism is a nonsense buzzword. I've never found a coherent definition, neither from the court when Ron DeSantis's like proposed legislation or whatever was asked by a court within Florida. Like, you have to define what this word means, because it's a nonsense buzzword that is just used to mean wokeism is whatever I don't like. It's a new version of political correctness to me. You could ask a million people what their definition of wokeism is or woke is, and you are going to get a million different answers, because there's no coherent definition. It just amounts to wokeism is when Bud Light gives, Dylan Mulvaney a beer can with her face on it. Wokeism is when people use pronouns. Like, it's nonsense. Of course, if people want to have, nuanced conversations about the excesses of social justice, I'm here for it. Or, perhaps like, political correctness or things that people find to be self-defeating or whatever. I think those conversations are interesting and I'm for those, but just these blanket terms of like wokeism is like gone too far or whatever. I really always need people to be extremely specific with what they mean, because it always to me leads to more questions than it answers, because it's like a nonsense. It's a buzzword.
All right. Not Eli Monty.
Yeah, so what is woke? So woke originated within the Black community, originated within Black vernacular, as far back as I believe the early 1920s. And the thing about woke was it was essentially used to describe someone who is aware or who is woken up to the world around them and how it actually works. Usually this involves someone discovering what systemic racism, or learning what systemic racism is and systemic barriers for many different groups of people. Now, however, it has been co-opted, just like many things that Black people create. It has been co-opted by the people who absolutely despise us. And this case, well, with this one, it's the Republicans. The Republicans have taken the word woke and have watered it down to basically now encompass not only Black things from CRT, but now it's like, if you have pronouns in your bio, apparently you're like woke or some shit. Or if you have an LGBTQ pride flag, you're apparently now woke or some shit. The bar as to what is considered woke is in the floor, because it essentially is whatever does not fit Republicans' right wing, evangelical Christian ethno state or whatever now is considered to be woke. So there's a huge there's a broad, I guess, picture as to what woke is. Is it harmful? I would say, I mean, I guess it just like anything, you know, too much of a good thing is too much of a good thing, and it could at some point become harmful. I do not think we are anywhere near that at all with woke now, but I'll save the rest for the open discussion.
All right, Vadim.
So yeah, I pretty much echo what both Eli and Straighterade had to say. But I actually, before I hopped on here, I went to Twitter and I looked up the term, or I just did a search of the word woke to see kind of what people were just saying about it. Basically, I have a list here. So there's a list of things. Oh, and by the way, these are all tweets that had at least 10 retweets. A lot of these tweets were tweets from fairly popular people, people who. Sorry, I'm very tired today, and I'm like really getting a little cracked out.
Same.
So yeah, these were popular people on Twitter, and also like people who are like pundits and whatnot. So here's a list. The Federal Reserve was woke. Climate change was woke. Child trafficking. The Chinese Communist Party. White genocide. The FDA.
Showering
the EPA,
once a day.
The
Hey,
IRS.
no one's interrupting.
The American Medical Association. I mean, the reason why I'm saying these, because we all know like the wacky ones like Mr. Potato Head and what's the M&Ms and whatnot. But the reason why I'm pointing these out is because these are things that are inherently, there's nothing woke about these things, and yet they're being talked about that way, and it just kind of speaks to how amorphous and non-specific the term is. It doesn't really mean anything at this point. It really is just often a way for people to talk about anything that they don't like. I would not be surprised if I kept on scrolling if I would have found tweets saying that cancer, Jeffrey Dahmer, and the Holocaust was woke. And the last thing that I'll say is what actually interests me about woke is that I think that, at the heart of what conservatives are trying to get at when they talk about woke culture, aside from kind of mocking social progress, is they're trying to portray the left as kind of being unreasonably dogmatic, that they kind of adhere to these really unreasonable ideas and beliefs and ideologies. And it's just so fucking ironic, or just like I can't take it seriously, because this is the party of fundamentalist Christianity and QAnon and just conspiracy theory. Yes, there are left wingers who are unreasonable and kind of indulge in conspiracy theories, but not. I mean, it's just like ridiculous to say that the two are equal. So I think that it's a lot of projection, really, and I guess that's it for now.
All right, saying that the Holocaust and M&Ms aren't woke, it really has gone too far. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. Zonia.
Hi. Okay, so wokeism. Okay, first I'm going to say I largely agree with Aaron and Eli with what they've said, so I don't really have a lot of. I think I'm going to be a little bit of the wild card here. Except here's the thing: so like wokeism overall, I think is a buzzword used mostly by conservatives, who usually to say, much like Aaron said, things I don't like, right? Cultural changes that I don't like, cultural shift that I don't like, progressive movement that I don't like, right? This is generally what it is with people when they're pushing back against like conservatives wanting to retain certain socially conservative values. The problem I see, though, with woke culture is that it sort of puts a focus on an artificial aesthetic of being woke, of being the person who can call out those who aren't woke, being the person who has all of the right symbols, the flags, the colors, the the things that make them aesthetically woke. And that becomes a very artificial thing. It becomes very dogmatic as well, because there's not a lot of, when people move in that direction of like try hard being woke as a part of this woke culture, people stop actually being analytical and sort of like questioning of their own internally held biases. And so I see a lot of people who have all the aesthetics of being like a woke leftist, the proper flags and everything, and say all the right things, but then it seems that they still have a lot of harbored like racial biases, gendered biases, sex biases, etc. And those don't really get worked out because they've convinced themselves that they're woke. They're more woke than the others. They're morally superior because they strove for the aesthetic of this woke culture. And I think a really important problem that's there is that part of what the woke culture, how it creates that drive or that focus, is by constantly wanting to find the impure person and slap a label on them. And so if you're the first one to slap a label on them, you're the person who's calling out the non-woke people. So clearly you're the woke person, and that's what creates this drive to continually meet this aesthetic that allows people to overlook their own internally held biases and to find where people may slip up or have, kind of slowness in adopting more progressive values, to find those little inconsistencies or imperfections in people and highlight them and say, this person's a bigot, or this person's a conservative, or this person is whatever, right? And that also creates a problem of like being able to win people over on issues and help them move in a more progressive direction, because it becomes antagonistic. It becomes singling out. It's looking for enemies. It's looking for people who aren't perfect enough, and it creates a culture of puritanism. That's my issue with woke culture. But overall, I still largely agree with both Aaron and Eli on this. I just think that there needs to be less obsession with trying to be the woke person and trying to have all the aesthetics and trying to call out all the non-woke people, and more of a focus on trying to be more productive in both questioning one's own biases and their own decision-making processes, and working with people who aren't quite up to speed enough or not moving progressively enough for them, and help move them in a progressive direction.
Okay. So before we get into this one, it's going to be like as usual, like it's either 2 versus 3 or maybe even 1 versus 4. So try to let I guess like Sprout or whoever respond. Also for the 3, try to let other people jump in here and there as well, instead of just like one back and forth for almost 5 minutes. Not Eli Monty is currently the only person with a shootout left, so everybody else has theirs taken.
I didn't do a shootout.
It gets taken
you
when
got yours
somebody else
taken.
uses it against you.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
As well. Sorry.
Yeah, I took yours.
It sounds like you're doing affirmative action, but for conservatives, for Sprouticus here. That's a little bit woke of you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But all right. We'll go ahead and let Sprout start us off here. Go ahead.
Okay. It seems to be that everyone wanted to define woke, but not yet woke culture. Which seemed to be the topic. I don't know if I misread the topic or not, but it seemed to be the topic of what is woke culture. Woke culture, it means something completely different than just woke, the word itself. If we were defining woke, the word itself, it depends entirely on what side you're on. However, woke culture speaks to a very specific phenomenon that we're experiencing, in which it's pushing people to progressively go more and more a certain direction, and also we have to pull the reins back. We're like, whoa, wait, we've gone too far, and it's a repetitive cycle. And this repetitive cycle is a self-ending cycle. It's self. I forget what I called it, but it terminates itself at a certain point, because you have to pull the reins back on it, and you just keep going through this repetitive cycle of, oh, we've gone too far. So that's what I defined woke culture, and then I defined why woke culture was bad for society. I apologize, I did not define woke. However, if you want me to define woke, I'm more than welcome to do so. You should tell me what side to define it from.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What's an example of like too far for you?
What's an example of too far for me?
Yeah, for like woke culture. Like, what's an example of a way in which it's gone like too far?
Like if you see progressivism running away, where is too far?
I think a spot that we've gone too far, and that would be considered like woke culture is pushing too far, is that we've allowed and I might get a lot of shit for this. We've allowed biological men to start winning biological women scholarships to college. This has been happening, and I disagree with it in high school sports. I don't really care in the collegiate level. I don't really care past high school. But what I do care about is that the people who deserve their athletic scholarships get their athletic scholarships. And this has been going somewhat downhill. And I'm not saying it's like a huge issue. I'm not saying it's like it's predominant that this is happening all over the place. However, it is happening. So that is one example I will give you in which I believe that woke culture has gone too far.
So when trans people get scholarships to go to school?
No, I'm specifically talking about scholarships for athletic.
Name one trans athlete that has gotten a scholarship.
Okay, we'll do.
I didn't want to say
second.
I would like if you already knew the name, since you said that was like your first example.
I got it.
By the way, there's only one.
So
there's only 100.
Well,
there's only
he's
one,
saying it's go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah,
Zonia,
there's only 100.
Come on, I want to hear his answer.
There's only 100 college, trans college athletes at this time. By the way, so that's
compare. Yeah, in comparison to like the amount, as someone with a younger brother who is going into sports, is one of the things he's going into college for. Like compared to like the amount of like cis people going into college for sports. I mean, I feel like this is like, you know, a non-issue.
You asked me for an example. I gave you an example. Did I not?
Right.
Did I say it was an overwhelming issue? Yes or no?
No, but I'm saying
I specifically said it was
but wait,
if
I remember, hold on, let me just rewind the clock a little bit. If I remember, my question was, what is too far? So now you've given me something that you think is too far. Now I want to go further as to like, why is that too far? And then I outlined, you know, like that we got cis athletes, and then Vadim said we have only about like 100 transgender athletes or whatnot. So like now I want to know, why is it that essentially trans people getting scholarships to go to school or go to school for sports, whatever, right? Why is that too far?
Okay, quick interjection. I'm not going to say that.
What I'm saying is in high school that if a biological woman, this is just seems to be somewhat factual, that especially in high school, and you can argue in college later on because there's more time in between the two. But if you're arguing high school specifically, if a biological woman has been running track since like what's called intermediate middle school, right, that they're not going to compete extremely well against a biological man by percentage, right? By percentage, they're not going to compete very well against a biological man. I'm not arguing that there's not biological women that could beat out all the biological men when it comes to like track and field. What I'm saying is by percentage, it's not going to fare well.
Well,
I think the problem with going into the why of it, though, is that we're going to get pretty far off topic. I'm okay with going in that direction, but we are talking about like what is woke culture, right, and where does it have issues? And Sprout is saying that it prioritizes moving in an aggressively progressive direction infinitely, is what he's effectively saying. And he's saying that if his problem with that is that's an infinite progression that doesn't necessarily have checks and balances to hold it back from going too far, and that's his problem with woke culture. Is that correct, Sprout?
Yes, that's exactly correct.
But then I have to go back and say, okay, so I don't want to ask the same question of, you know, what is too far again. But like I just don't see how, like, I just don't see where like the bad is coming from. I don't see where that's like on the horizon.
Okay, if we keep infinitely going this direction, right?
But we're not going to
in an infinite manner.
But we're not going to.
So where's it stop?
We can't do that. I don't know I guess when systemic barriers are finally eliminated for POC and other marginalized communities.
Define that.
okay, when we finally get rid of things such as redlining, disproportionate policing,
Redlining's been gone.
Huh?
We're still experiencing the effects of redlining, but redlining's been gone.
No, it's still a practice. It's still a thing. It's illegal, but people still do it. They just get around.
The
they
after
lie.
effects of it, but redlining is gone.
Right, but it's still no. It's actually, you can look this up. It's actually still going on. It's just that people lie about it, and along with what you said about
source, because
experiencing the effects of it, right? Like, I mean,
yes, we're experiencing the after effects of it. Yes,
getting rid of the after effects of that is also a part of, I guess,
that takes time.
Being woke.
It
takes time, but like, what? I just don't see this mythical horizon where it's going too far and it's like a bad thing. The way I think about it, if anything, we're not moving far enough. And I think part of it is also, and by the way, I hate the word woke. I refuse to use that word seriously. I hate the fact that I have to say it here. But I feel like with like all of the dirt that has been like surrounding the word woke, like now it's become like what Straighterade was saying, this whole buzzword, right? Where now you got a bunch of people who are like programmed.
It's a buzzword on both sides.
Again, I feel like it's more of a buzzword. It's more of a buzzword on the right.
If you want me to define the word woke, tell me what side to define it from, and I'll define it.
Well, but again, I feel like
hold on, real quick. We're gonna go over the.
I should use my bullet.
So you want to use your?
Yeah,
nah.
Do it.
It's
fine.
No.
I'll use it. I'll use it later. I'll use it in a bit. Zonia has something that she wants to say. I want Zonia to get
Vadim real quick, and then we'll go to Zonia after.
Vadim, yeah.
Okay, so Vadim, sorry. I mean, I think I'm kind of building on what Eli is saying, which is like, you and just conservatives in general are making such a big deal, acting like woke culture is tearing America apart, and that's all you can fucking come up with, just that like one thing. I have like a challenge for you, Sprouticus. I'd like you to give us 3 actual types of legislation that are, because you know what, I'll go ahead and I'll give it to you, even though that I don't think that trans women in sports is a problem. I want to hear like actual legislation that either has been passed or is it like very well might be passed, that is dangerous, that is tearing America apart, and is an example of woke culture gone amok.
Again, I don't think we've reached that point, but what I do believe is that if it can, what?
Well, it's just like you were saying, like we've reached a point of no return. We've never been.
Yeah, people go too fast. People go too fast, right? People go too fast, and you see it on Twitter. You'll see people that go way too fast and be like, wait, we're not there yet, right? Let's move back. Let's move back a couple steps. Let's actually do this step by step instead of trying to jump 5 steps and move forward in like a sprinting fashion, because change doesn't happen when you're sprinting. Change happens step by step. It doesn't happen by sprinting.
It's time for me to use the bullet.
Do you realize that if you want to do it, I'll just say this real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like we've been doing this dance for really beyond decades, for like since like the civil rights era, probably before it. Like people are always using these terms. Political correctness, as Straighterade mentioned earlier, was one that was really big at the end of the 90s and the early 2000s. And it's just people are constantly doing this. They were doing this with like when gay marriage was about to be passed, people were like making the exact same arguments. So it's just same shit, different day.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Are we doing the shootout?
Yeah, I'm gonna use my bullet.
I'm
gonna shoot out with Sprouticus real quick. Okay, so I don't want to be that guy, Sprout, but
you are that guy. You just used your shootout. Come on.
No, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. I don't want to be that guy, but I want to go back to your opening statement real quick.
Okay, go back to your opening statement. Your
opening statement. How do I say this without sounding like an ass? Your opening statement was kind of like I don't know your point, basically, based off your opening statement. It was just woke is bad, woke fast, woke not slow down. Woke, keep going, keeping going, bad, forward, no forward, move back.
Okay.
I don't know what to do with that, man.
Yeah, because you're not listening. So how about you open your ears here about for a minute, and I'll.
I was listening, dog. I listened
you
to
aren't,
the whole thing.
because you're pulling out very specific words. You're like, I'm gonna pull these words. That's all I'm gonna fucking remember. So open
They
your
weren't
ears.
specific.
I need to actually go
man.
into your brain. All right. So when I was describing what woke was, I said that it was going too fast, like it was going too far, and they had to pull the reins back. You'd be like, wait, not yet. Too far. And it's an infinitely repeating cycle in which you're going too far, you have to pull the reins back. And when you're pulling the reins, wait. If you want to understand, then you don't talk. If you want to understand, then you don't talk. All right, cool. So now, when you're pulling the reins back, obviously you're not being woke, right? You're not being woke when you're pulling the reins back. So the woke is the moving forward, and then all of a sudden society has to go, wait a second, not yet. So the idea is that it's going entirely too fast. You're pulling back, and eventually what I'm saying is, instead of being woke, is let's define what our goals are. Let's take this step by step. Let's move forward in a steady but reasonable pace that we can keep up with, instead of having what is woke culture to me, or what is wokeism to me, which is infinitely just going forward way too fast. Go back, and it's just infinite, right? Do you understand what I'm saying, or what part do I need to clarify?
So I feel like you're okay. Do you want me to be honest, or do you want me to be?
Oh, I didn't ask you to lie.
You know what? Since it's my birthday tomorrow. Okay. So here's a problem that I have, and that is you saying like what are we doing? Give me another example. Maybe we need another example here. What's another example of us moving a bit too far where we need to pull the reins back a little bit?
I don't have all the examples offhand, and I'm not going to sit here and look up examples. If you would want to, I can pull these. No, because what's not.
Do you know what woke is?
Wait, stop. What's not going to happen is I'm not going to be attacked on every single example and then try and look up sources while trying to debate 4 different people. If you want to,
it could just be me and you. It's a shootout, dog.
No, I know, but the shootout ends. If you want to, you can have a conversation later on in which we can discuss this further. But what I'm going to state is that it does happen, and I can pull up examples, and we can have this conversation later if you want to. But what I'm not going to do is be attacked on every single example and then be trying to find sources while debating 4 different people.
I'm telling you right now, I know this sounds weird coming from me, but I am not trying to attack you. I'm really chill right now. It is 10:50 and I get to work from home for 2 hours.
I know, but Straighterade is laughing her ass off, just waiting to be unmuted.
I wonder why she's
just
laughing.
Waiting.
But I'm just because see, now I'm floundering because I don't know where I still. You're not giving me any substance, man. You're not giving me anything to work with. You're just saying.
No, I want to thank Sprout because you're proving my point that this is a buzzword because you're having difficulty coming up with even a couple of examples.
I didn't want to say that, but
I've got more examples. I've got more examples. I'm just not going to be attacked for every single example while trying to look up sources and while debating 4 people. That's not going to happen because I know it's an impossible goal for me. So I'm not even going to try to achieve it.
I don't even think.
Okay, to be fair, Sprout, I'm trying to like steel man you where I can, because technically I'm supposed to be on your side with this, but I can't really work with that. So I'm trying to just steel man you and largely just like clarify things and provide a bridge.
I genuinely want to say this though, Sprout. Yeah. I'm not trying to attack you here. I know that you and I have our differences. I know that we have different points of view. I mean, you were a conservative, but like now you're somewhere like in the middle, I guess, a centrist or whatever. And then I'm like very far left. Like I'm insane, right? I get that. But like right now, maybe it's just the time of day or what's going on right now. But like I am genuinely just trying to figure out. Okay,
so I can use right talking points if you want me to. I can use right talking points. I have the right talking points. I could use them. I know they're going to be obliterated, right? Like because I'm no longer I no longer believe these talking points. I no longer state these talking points. I know they're going to be obliterated. I would rather be able to actually have this discussion in which I can look up these examples and like be able to actually have this discussion in a more full manner than what I'm capable to do on this panel.
I can give you an example. I will even steel man your position. Okay, here's an example of me thinking this is like wokeness gone too far. This is something stupid, like the black squares on Instagram during 2020. Okay, dumb. All right.
Oh my god! I completely forgot about that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
And like just stupid stuff like that, where like that kind of stuff is about virtue signaling. Getting validation points on like Twitter and stuff like that. Like dumb. Okay. There's an example like. And
Here's where
I remember that being like widely condemned though. Like people were fucking clowning on that, but people actually thinking, Kylie Jenner posting a fucking black square was doing anything for BLM, or
no, don't forget
she
handed the cop that Coke. That's what really
handed the cop the Pepsi. That was
she handed the Pepsi. She handed the cop the Pepsi.
Or I guess if we're gonna go down that line, putting a rainbow on everything during is it May? No,
you know what? It's funny you say that, Sprout. Because actually, I was at work today, right? And I was thinking when I was on my way to a client's place, right? I was thinking, you know what? You know where wokeness has gone too far? Woke capitalism. There we go. There's where
rainbow
woke
capitalism.
Has gone too far. Yeah, rainbow capitalism. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's where woke
here's the
too
thing.
Far.
I disagree. Here's the thing. I actually disagree. I like it because it's actually made for a more comfortable environment. I felt more like I could come out in my company because of all the virtue signaling. Like
I like it too, but I'm just saying there's to a point. like
you gotta at least from my perspective, I come from an older era where it was very, very scary even considering coming out. So when I worked at a company that was like, no, we're proud of all of our LGBTQ people. We're doing what we can to sure, it's a lot of virtue signaling, a lot of corporate virtue signaling, but it made it more comfortable for me to feel like, hey, I'm at a company that I can actually come out and be myself at. That's a good thing. Here's another example. Even though it looks pretty cringy at like SF Pride because you got all these corporate floats, you got the Microsoft float and the Google float and stuff like that.
Chick-fil-A was about
all the churches marching saying, "We love you."
It looks kind of cringe, right? But here's something to consider. You've actually got a lot of signaling that shows, hey, look at this. Queer folk can actually have thriving careers in corporate America, right? In these companies, it really kind of opens up the door. Like, yes, you can do this. It's cringy. It's virtue signaling. It's really easy for them to do. Sure. But it's kind of saying, hey, look at what you can go forward for. Look at what's available to you. There are options. It's not all grim. We can keep going in this direction. There's going to be more options, but it just opens the door for people. It makes life a lot easier when you're a trans person and you feel like, and everything else has been so stifling and everybody keeps everything quiet. Your family doesn't want to say anything about the weird person in the family. Let's just pretend that they're not actually weird and misgender them the whole time. But you got a companies there going and saying, we're open to you. This is where you can come. This is where you can go. We will accept you. That's awesome. I love rainbow capitalism, despite how cringy it is.
I want to say. Let me clarify. Like, yes, there is. What you're saying is valid and correct. Yes, absolutely. I'm just saying once it gets like way out there to where companies say they care, but then it's like, all right, it is. They're looking at like 11:59 on like June 31st. Like, all right, take the pride shit down. But I want to say to break bread with you here, Zonia. From one minority to another, as a black person, I feel better when I'm in a neighborhood, obviously, with Black Lives Matter flags as opposed to the Confederate flag or Trump flags or what have you. So I 100% agree with and sort of see where you're coming from there. Of course, I'm not I'm not a trans person, or I'm not binary, but I will never have to experience, what you have probably experienced. So there's that. But I see where you're coming from now.
I can give a number of examples of things because I think generally people, when they talk about something woke, they're talking about just something that's gone too far. Normally, that's what they use it. They think it's gone too far to the left. So we talk about things like things that aren't just on Twitch or on Twitter, but things that even that have made its way into where politicians are saying these things, chanting "abolish the police," giving your preferred pronouns everywhere you go to be inclusive of less than 2% of the population, people who defended violence and rioting during protests, people calling anybody center or right of center, like Nazis or fascists or things like that. These are things that, like, not just on Twitter, but yes, people like the what do they call them, the squad or whatever. These sorts of people have said these things and defended these things. So I think, like, there are a bunch of examples of things that people would generally call woke or woke culture.
But Tom, the problem with that is that the what you define as woke is going to be completely different than, I mean, like there's some people who will just if you happen to be gay, or if you happen sometimes even if you just happen to be black and you
Can I interject?
Parrot, what's that?
I said, can I interject for a hot second?
Yeah.
Do you mean
sure.
to say that, like, what some, like, no offense to anybody here, but like me being a black person, what my definition of woke is most likely going to be different from what a white person considers to be woke. Is that correct?
No, I'm saying that he has a certain idea of what he believes woke is, but sometimes people's just merely their existence is woke. Yeah. I mean, like just being gay, or just like say that men should be able to, or men and women should be able to, and just trans people should be able to exist in the way that they prefer. Just all these things,
right? Which is
are
why
automatically labeled woke. Which is
why I kind of stated, though, that like you want me to define woke, then tell me which side you want me to define it from, and I'll define it. Woke culture, however, I think is much more definable.
Okay, define it.
Okay, so again, I defined the idea of woke culture. I can define it again if you would like. I've defined the idea of woke culture, like what the systematically woke culture is. I'm not going to go down this path, because this path is going to lead to nothing but chaos the rest of the panel. So I've defined the systematic idea of woke culture. Of like going too far.
Can you define it again, just to like
going too far, being pulled back, and being forced to be pulled back?
Do you want to just use do you want to just use what I said for what woke is?
But then like
use that.
Then right wingers can be woke, because you're just describing when people go too far. That's not it's not descriptive of anything left wing. Your definition.
Okay, I'm sorry. Going too far to the left and having to be pulled back. I'm sorry. I didn't think Nazis would be included in woke. I apologize. Going too far to the left and being pulled back.
So here's something. I'm just going to provide this. I know this has been mentioned both briefly by Aaron, briefly by Tom, but like where woke culture can go too far, I think, has a lot to do with these sort of online spaces are a big one. University campuses are a big one, where there is a dogmatism, unwilling to hear any kind of disagreement, anything that doesn't toe the woke culture line. I don't really like using that term like that way, but people who would deviate and people who would ask some questions or maybe not follow in suit with some things. Like, this is something that happens in the trans community, and this has to do with woke culture, where if you are not fitting the particular, like all the current memes and tropes that the trans community has in, like, say in like just on Twitter, and you have some disagreement, you will get bombarded by trans Twitter, even as a trans person, and they'll just go after you because you're not towing the line, you're not saying all the right things. And that's sort of a problem with woke culture, because you may have some disagreements. Like, one example of this will be people who disagree with xenogenders and think that that's not really trans, and it's not something that we should be trying to go and do trans advocacy for. That will get you bombarded on Twitter and blasted. You'll feel like you're kind of singled out and ostracized. And that is, I think, is an unhealthy behavior. I don't think that's a good behavior. It drives us apart. It's looking for people who are like not matching the right tone and then declaring them as enemies and then isolating and ostracizing them. That's driving people apart. That's not bringing bringing people together, that's not trying to work out disagreements, that's not trying to make trade-offs, that's not trying to be understanding or empathetic. It's just simply, you're not fitting the right aesthetic, you're an enemy, you're an outsider, fuck off, right? And we'll bombard you, give you a whole bunch of hate and all kinds of stuff like that. That is a problem where I think woke culture goes too far. And I think that's something that I think we should avoid dogmatism like that. I think we should be more willing to work with people who have slight disagreements or don't champion all the exact same causes in the exact same way.
Yeah, that's a good example, Zonia. I think what you're getting at is like closer to if there's an argument to be made for like woke culture going too far. Another example I was going to say was, I debated this with Brianna Wu, like if you don't boycott the Harry Potter game, you're transphobic, you know, just immediate stuff like that where I'm like, I don't think that this is productive, helpful, or accurate. I think that this is actually, you know, people calling for those boycotts, regardless of whether or not it's effective or not, regardless of if like asking themselves, but does this actually help trans people, or is this actually hurting trans people if people buy this or whatever? And, you know, like wanting people to conform to that, or like make that request of people, or like try to like label them as transphobic for just buying a video game or whatever. Like that to me is an example.
The bombarding of their channels when they're streaming it and the mass reporting them as well.
Right, exactly. Where I'm like, you want people to virtue signal in that case. Like these are people who are like, please virtue signal that you care about trans people by boycotting, even though it's the game, even though it's like, but you don't even know if that actually hurts or helps trans people in either direction, you know? I think Sprouticus, what you were talking about sounded more like radicalism. I don't know, like at the end, like you were saying like, I guess like Nazis are woke or whatever.
No, I said I didn't think Nazis were going to be considered woke because Vadim said that it sounds like the right goes woke too. So I was using Nazis as a kind of point as to the right has gone too far and needs to be pulled back. I was using Nazism in that way. I don't think Nazis are woke.
I think, but he's.
I think you're talking. I think you're talking like extremism in general or Puritanism, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you were defining like woke culture going too far as like people just becoming more and more radical in their politics, and that can exist, like you said, like there's wokeness for the right, there's wokeness for the left. Then if you're just defining it as like going towards like the edges and like the fringe, then yes, I guess technically by that framework, Nazis would be woke, but that sounds kind of like incoherent. So. Like
again, I wasn't going to use it for the right. I was going to use it for the left because that's commonly where it's used. No one uses it for the right. So I was going to use it for the left. I was using Nazis as a way to combat the idea that the right is woke too, kind of moving further into the fringe of the right that they're woke too. No, I don't think that because society doesn't call it that. But on the left, I think that is considerably used very often for the fringe of the left.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, right, that's what I was saying with what, like, I see it as like synonymous with political correctness, because Nick Fuentes would probably tell you that if you don't buy into the Jewish question, you're not actually woke on Jewish people, right? Like that is the right wing's version of like, I mean, you need to be aware of the injustice.
I don't really watch Nick Fuentes. I mean, I could be completely wrong. Nazis could call themselves woke. I don't watch Nazis, so I would be completely ignorant on that. But if they do, I'd laugh my ass off. So
I'm not saying that Nazis are woke. I'm just saying that if we're starting from the premise, which I am, that like wokeness can be basically synonymous with people complaining about political correctness, that it is typically the left who's fighting off accusations of like wokeness going too far or whatever. But I'm making like a nuanced case for like this, that it's a buzzword, because this phenomenon of like people not towing the partisan line can be observed in the left wing and the right wing. Because if you don't toe the line with right wingers, like if you're vaccinated, if you don't believe that the election was stolen or like the big lie, this is you not being like, yeah, exactly. Like
that's why I'm politically homeless. Yeah.
Yeah, because like literally, like, you know, for most left wingers or liberals, you're probably still too conservative, and for most conservatives online, you're probably too liberal because you don't buy into like the vaccine. If you're not buying into the vaccine stuff, if you're not buying into the big lie, then you're not politically correct enough for the right wing as far as they're concerned, because it's like charity testing effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah. To piggyback on that, did any of you see this recent political ad for Ron DeSantis? He was kind of attacking Donald Trump for being too pro LGBT. Did you guys see that?
Oh, I did see that.
No, I did not.
Yeah, I saw that one.
It's the diaper baby shootout.
It's fucking dark. There's actually like one thing that people didn't really discuss that was in that. There was a brief image of a like a Knights Templar, which is very much like a Nazi dog whistle. But anyway, I'm digressing. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because it's just that ad is in just so many ways fucking hilarious, because that is Ron DeSantis basically calling Donald Trump too woke for basically being okay with gay people existing, and for like one time complimenting what's her name, Jenner. Yes, exactly. So that's just like, I guess just the last thing I'll say is
in general, right-wing trans woman.
What's that?
Like, I was saying, just the fact that they were mad because of him congratulating Caitlyn Jenner, who was a right-winger who's also a trans person, a trans woman. Like, just eating your own.
Exactly. And it's so I guess the point is that purity culture, or maybe that's not the right term, but purity tests and just all sorts of like ways in which you have to toe the line, that exists within the right wing as well. We just don't really call it.
Don't call it wokeism, right?
I think we've gotten off of woke, and I think at this point what we're talking about, what a lot of people have mentioned, I feel like, is cancel culture. Is what I feel like. I feel like now we're getting into territory of like
purity
cancel
testing,
culture,
puritanism, cancel culture.
I mean, all roads kind of lead there, basically, with this conversation that I find, because it, like, again, if you just start with like wokeism is just like way too nebulous of a term for like anyone to actually. It's a Rorschach test. You know what I mean? Like, people just project what they want to see onto like what they define as like woke or whatever. Like, to Ron DeSantis, like Trump, not being hostile to the existence of every single trans person that he has ever come in contact with, that's him being woke or whatever. And like to Trump, Trump has called like the military or like the CIA, the military has gone woke. The reason for this is because the military allows transgender people to be a part of it. So, he views like, these are both people ostensibly using like the same term or whatever. And both of them saying like, no, I'm actually the one who is like further right than you, But it just ends up being virtue signaling. Doing
their own their own bigotry, like purity test virtue signal shit. Like, holy fuck.
Yeah, literally. I mean, like, this has happened at like Republican like debates in the past or whatever. Like when the like religious right was huge, they used to get up on the stage and argue about like who is the most pious and who is the most religious, and they would like literally brag about how many kids that they have. I remember Rick Santorum being like, "I have 9 kids" and stuff like that. Like that is like conservative virtue signaling. So,
and then the Virgin walks on stage, and they all die. They all are just destroyed because the Virgin walks on stage.
And like when I think of like like just the dangers of like people being overly concerned with like wokeness or whatever, is like legislation that actually ends up being like anti-free speech, because they want to ban stuff like books in schools. They want to ban people talking about race in certain ways or whatever. And it's like there has to be
stop talking about race, period. Not about certain ways. They just want to. They're like, with these people, they're taking textbooks and they're renaming them. They're renaming slaves migrant workers or whatever, like immigrant or traveling workers or whatever. It's like, no, we were slaves, motherfucker. Get the shit right.
Even in like Texas was trying to say that like slavery should be redefined as like involuntary relocation, stuff like this, where to me it's like, even if there is a conversation to be had about like stuff going too far, it's like, I don't think that I think the overcorrections or like the law getting involved is going to cause way more issues than whatever is like the initial thing you're trying to fight.
Okay.
Even if you name them like moved workers or whatever the fuck they call them, it's still bad. Like that, even that, like just that sentence, that title or whatever, it's still a bad thing. You're just sugarcoating it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went way over
Silence,
on the last
Tom.
one.
This is our panel now. Silence.
Yeah, we're gonna cut this one
Tom.
a little bit short because we went over on the other one about 20-30 minutes. So. If everybody wants to go to closing statements and then also shout yourselves out, we'll start with Vadim again.
Okay. I don't really know what to close with here. I was just thinking about how hilarious it is to see conservatives on Twitter struggle to figure out what is and what isn't woke. And one thing that comes to mind is several months ago when the Super Mario Brothers movie came out, there were a whole shitload of conservatives who were like basically like tweeting, oh, this is gonna be so woke. I think one of the reasons why was because of the fact that
Because Peach could run the obstacle course better than
exactly,
Mario. That's why.
exactly.
Yeah.
No,
That shit.
But then it came out, and like they basically did a 180, and they were like, yes, anti-woke culture is victorious, and we're winning the culture war and shit like that. It's the dumbest fucking shit ever, and it's like they're so thirsty for what they perceive as cultural wins. It's just so pathetic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what else to say other than I guess this is the last thing that I'll say, which is that I just I guess of course I understand there's lots of just completely irrational or just uncooperative, shitty leftists out there. And I agree with you, Zonia. I agree that sometimes that is a barrier in terms of us working together effectively. But at the end of the day, I just think like, why fucking use this right-wing branding, this like term that is just like, it's like you're playing with their rules and you have to kind of like conform to all these really wonky ideas of what woke is if you like accept that term. So I just kind of like look at it like, like the it's just, yeah, so some lefties are uncooperative and they're young and I don't know. I won't, you know what? I'm just going to wrap up by saying thanks for having me. I've been like a little out of it today because I like went for a really long run this morning in the blazing sun, and it's just that on top of maybe not eating enough today. I've been like kind of very like kind of like I feel like I've taken 5 bong hits, so I hope I haven't like been too.
I'm about to take 6.
So I hope I haven't been too rambly. Thanks for having me. If you guys are interested, you can find me at HeyItsVadim on Twitter and HeyItsVadim on YouTube. And like I said, I haven't uploaded in a while, but pretty soon I'm coming back with some really awesome shit. So you should check that out.
Nice,
Later.
Thank you. Zonia.
All right. Yeah, to wrap. Well, I conferred with my little buddy Puka here, who he just won't let me put him down. Every time I put him down, he yaps at me. So just to keep him shut up, I got to hold him. We conferred, and I think we're both convinced by Sprouticus he had the best arguments here. Wokeism needs to die. Wokies need to put into camps. So we're going to put them into camps. We're going to deprogram them, and we're going to make them no longer care about all this woke garbage, okay? And we're going to make them good Christian conservatives.
Oh my God.
that will be okay with traditional marriage and nuclear family structures. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Puka and I have conferred on this. We're both in agreement. Sprout won us over. Those were very solid arguments. Anyways, thank you. I'm Zonia. Zonia TV on YouTube, Zonia Dead on Twitch, or plain old Zonia on Kick, where I do exclusive streams there sometimes. We say lots of slurs. I do lots of hard drugs, etc. And we watch horrible snuff films. Okay, with Puka here, he yaps and purrs into the microphone while we watch snuff films. So everybody, if you're interested, please follow me on one of those channels, especially Kick. And thank you for having me on, Tom. Good chatting with all of you.
Awesome. Thank you for coming. Sprouticus.
All right. I definitely should have prepared more for this, for the second topic. I prepared a lot for the first topic. The second topic I thought was going to be like fairly just, I don't know. I just thought it was going to turn into a shit show. Anyways, it was good talking to, everybody. No, woke is just, I guess, extremism or purity testing to the left. It's not what you call it on the right, but purity testing needs to go away. Extremism needs to go away. I don't know. I feel like all these are basic points. Either way, I'm the Sprouticus. You can find me at twitch.tv/thesprouticus, twitter.com/thesprouticus. And I want to remind Vadim that I haven't forgotten why I didn't win Hippy Dippy Championship belt.
Oh my god!
So I want him to know that I have not forgotten that. Voted me down every single time. So I just want to let you know I have not forgotten, and I still have your number. All right.
Okay. I look real quick. I want to say I get like honestly, like I give you like mad props because you had a lot of people coming at you in this like second panel, and like yeah. So just thanks for being a good sport.
Appreciate it.
All right, Straighterade.
I'm actually, by the end of this particular topic, I realize I've changed my position. I don't even just think that wokeness has gone too far. I actually don't think it's gone far enough. Okay. Jordan Peterson told me that people would be locked up for using the wrong pronouns. And I just looked up that nobody has ever been arrested for Bill C-16. I'm going to personally make sure that the next person who doesn't use yet until I get involved. And I'm going to find and track down somebody who has not used these or pronouns, okay, or acknowledged all 300 xenogenders, and I will personally see to it that they are arrested in Canada, okay? So I promise you guys I'm going to do my best to, like, make sure wokeness goes even farther and trigger as many conservatives as I possibly can. But yeah, I'm at Straighterade on almost everything, or at Straighterade_. It was really fun participating with you guys. Yeah, sorry, Sprout, that you were, like, the, like, lone voice here, lone conservative, but, like, props to you for fighting off the dog pile.
All right. And thanks for having a camera today, Straighterade. You're really going all out. That was awesome.
I know, finally.
Not Eli Monty.
Hi, yeah, that's me. I'm not Eli Monty. So as far as wokeness, I really hate the word. I think the word has been like it's been beaten to high fuck. Reminder to everyone that hold on a second. Someone who declared war on woke is losing. They're in a losing battle right now to a cartoon fucking mouse. I just want to make sure everybody knows that first and foremost. But anyways, I think I've said what I've had to say about woke. Oh, actually, no. One last thing. I think the important thing that we really need to take away from the whole talk about woke is that woke originated within the black community. It originated within black vernacular, and I think it's very sickening, in all honesty, that something that originated from our community has now been twisted and warped and is now basically a buzzword to mean something, to basically mean anti-us. But anyways, my name is Eli Monty. I'm predominantly on TikTok. That's where I got my start and everything. I am on Twitch as well, kind of, at Not Eli Monty. I'm Not Eli Monty on everything. Well, except for TikTok. I'm the Eli Monty because I actually got banned because I tried to persuade incels from going towards the red pill and Fresh and Fit and all, and Jordan Peterson, Fresh and Fit, all those people, and they hated me for it, so they mass reported my shit. But as far as who I am, for my day job, I help homeless people and previously homeless individuals. I help people get housed, and I also help prevent people who are at eviction or at risk of eviction from getting evicted. And I'm also the type of person where I always try to approach even commonly discussed topics from a different perspective or a different lens, because I want people to think about things and broaden their horizons and thinking about things and approach these things differently, because I think we oftentimes approach them from too much of the same point rather than, this whole pasture we could approach it from. And I'm also about building community and coalition among people in real life, not just online. And that's part of the reason why I don't stream as much and why I really only stream like once or twice a week. But Tom, thank you so much for having me. This was amazing, in all honesty. Like, honestly, the best panel I've ever been on, even though I feel like I didn't say that much. I know some people here probably wish I'd shut up now. But yeah, come follow me and shit. I don't fucking know. I want to take 9 bong hits now. Oh, and it's my birthday tomorrow. Make it 10.
Yeah,
all
happy
right.
birthday, man.
Happy birthday.
3 away from 30. Let's go.
Happy birthday to
No, that's not
you.
happening. That's not happening.
Happy birthday to you.
Zonia has the right
Happy
idea.
birthday, dear
This is
Eli.
happening.
Thank you, Zonia.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday to you.
That's the right idea. The 1 month of the year I get to be a fascist and go against all my principles. Fuck yeah.
I appreciate all you guys coming on. Yes, this was an awesome panel. If you guys haven't been aware of my show, most of my audience is we have a very wide array of political ideologies there. We allow people to jump on and debate all sorts of stuff. We'll cover a topic and allow people to come on and argue with me or different people. We do open panels some days where just a bunch of content creators all jump on and argue with each other over random stuff or whatever happened that week. So I'll put a link in the group chat if you got, I think most of you are already there, but yeah, I'll put a link in the group chat for anybody who wants to join and hop on sometimes. And then, if anybody wants to follow me, it's youtube.com/tomfooleryshow. We do these panels about every 2 weeks right now. So, and then also, well done to Emperor Dave. He was the producer and recruiter for this show. He did an awesome job getting everything ready and had a very even mix of people. So this was really good topics and really good group of people here. Outside of that, that's all I got. I appreciate you guys coming on, and you have a good night. Later.
Thanks a bunch.
Night. Take care.
See ya.
See you guys.